Hello dear friends, I'm Samuel Moore and welcome to this week's video lesson. As many of you know, I recently published my third flamenco guitar tutorial book, Flamenco Guitar, Compa Essentials, Bulerías. This book and the series it's part of helps you unlock the spontaneous nature of flamenco performance. You can find out more about the book, as well as order a copy, via the link in the description below. But today, I'd like to share with you a little idea from the book so you can get a better idea of what it's about. Specifically, I want to talk to you about playing Bulerías' basic compass in a 2-beat feel. The phrase you're going to learn sounds like this. Here it is again, but with me counting the numbers. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Before we talk about how to use that phrase in the context of your wider playing, let's take a moment to actually learn it. In many respects, this phrase is relatively easy to play. For the most part, in terms of this hand, most of what you're doing is built around a very simple hand pattern. I'll do it in a very basic way to begin with. Basically, your thumb does a down strike of a golpe on a bass note. For now, we'll just do it on the same bass note, on the 5th string, but in the context of the phrase, you often have to change the bass note depending on what the left hand's doing. But for now, we'll just keep everything on the 5th string to make life easy. So down strike with the thumb and golpe on that string, and then finish by going with the index up, down, up. And when I do the up, down, up, I'm not really aiming to catch a certain number of strings. I'm just aiming to do very light strikes up and down so that the strings sound. So essentially the pattern goes bass, up, down, up. I then repeat it, bass, up, down, up, and then I finish by going bass, up. So bass with the thumb again, up with the index again. And as before, the thumb is the strong beat, the up is a lighter beat. Thus this gives you a pattern that looks like this. Bass, up, down, up, bass, up, down, up, bass, up. Now, it's then simply a matter of implementing this with what the left hand is doing. Throughout most of this phrase, the left hand is playing a version of the B flat chord. But we're taking away the first and second finger. They're going to be free to play different bass notes. So we're mainly starting with this chord, which is, I suppose if I had to describe it, it's a B flat / D chord. Okay, which is a fancy way of saying it's a B flat chord with a D in the bass. The pattern that you just did, bass up, down, up, bass up, down, up, bass up, the bass notes are all determined by what these two fingers are doing. The first pattern, the bass notes are going to go D, E, played with the first finger, and then take it away again, so you've got the D. So what you get is this. Then, the second pattern of bass notes, this one's a bit more difficult, but you've got to swap strings. C, open D, then back to C. Thus giving you, and you'll have noticed that when I played the open D, I took the finger that was playing the note C away, just to give me a bit more clearance so the note rings properly. Sorry, my apologies. And then of course the final bit, B flat, C, B flat. that all together and you get this. And then to conclude, we move back to the A chord, and all you're going to do here, and by the way, it's worth mentioning, you may wish to put the B flat note into the A chord, just to give it a bit more of a flamenco sound. And all you're going to do is play the bass note, A, tap the body of the guitar with this finger, and then use the index finger to go up, down, up, down, up, down, with a strong down strike on the final one. And generally I mute it after that. The whole phrase thus sounds like this. Now, that's a really nice phrase, and we've learned how to play it relatively straightforwardly. But we haven't talked about the rhythm yet. I mentioned right at the start, this is a 2-beat feel phrase. And what I mean by that is we're not phrasing in that classic Bulería 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, where you're essentially accenting 12, 3, 6, 8 and 10. What we're now doing is we're accenting every other beat. In other words, every 2 beats, the first beat is accented. So it kind of sounds like this. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You can hear that in terms of where the golpes are happening. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You see what I mean? A 2-beat feel phrase. So this is a really interesting Bulería phrase because rhythmically it's quite sophisticated comparative to what we often play when we're playing the Bulerías basic compass. Now, you might be saying to me at this stage, well, that's a really great phrase, Sam, but why are you teaching it to us? Well, this goes right to the heart of one of the subjects covered in my new book. Essentially, when you're playing a palo like Bulerías, basic compass ideas are essentially the core rhythmic ideas that you keep coming back to again and again in between other structural components such as falsettas and llamadas. Now, when people are playing Bulerías basic compass, there are many different things you can do, but a phrase that people tend to gravitate towards sounds like this. Now, I'm not going to teach you how to play that. What I am going to do, however, is describe to you a concept. A concept that will serve you very, very well if you want to make your Bulerías basic compass playing more interesting. If you want this in more detail, that's what the book's for. Essentially, that phrase I just played, were you to always use that when required to play the Bulerías basic compass, your playing would start to get repetitive and boring very quickly. You have to vary it in order to make it interesting. Now, the 2-beat feel phrase I taught you at the start of this video is a really good way to vary your Bulerías basic compass playing, because it gives you a really interesting melodic and rhythmic phrase to use when you're playing compass. To highlight this, I'm going to play 4 cycles of Bulería compass. The first one will be the very simple idea I played a moment ago. I'm then going to go into the 2-beat feel phrase, which essentially goes round the compass cycle twice. And then I'm going to finish by reverting back to the more simple idea I played a moment ago. Let's hear it. So there you have it. A very simple way to add variety into your Bulerías compas playing. Now imagine this. Imagine you don't just have one variation like the 2-beat feel to add variety into your Bulerías basic compas playing. Imagine you had many ideas like that, and imagine you could use them at will when performing in a spontaneous way. That is one of the main chapters in my new book. It will show you how to make your Bulerías basic compas playing much more varied, much more interesting, much more spontaneous. And if that were not enough, it's then going to show you how to use all of that knowledge in a performance context. In other words, by the end of the book, you'll be improvising your own Bulerías solos. If all this sounds good to you, I warmly invite you to follow the link in the description below and treat yourself to a copy of my new book today. I look forward to meeting you again in the first chapter, but for now, I leave what you've just learnt in your capable hands.